Hi, I'm Osman. I'm an energy healer on a master level with telepathic capabilities. I specialize in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, amongst a host of other physiological, psychological, as well as spiritual ailments. I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having practiced for almost 50 years and teaching for 44 years. And in that period, gained a vast array of knowledge from various masters from different schools of thought. And I spent most of my lifetime trying to create protocols adapted for the 21st century. And I have, successful students from over 100 countries by this stage, across the globe, thousands of students, and a lot of success stories following very simplified protocols. And I qualify mainly in Kundalini Yoga and in overall wellness, seeking a moderate level wellness in all aspects of life, including, your social life, your romantic life, financial life, as well as your physical life, right? And wellness aspects, and psychologically as well. And also, focusing on longevity. So visit my website, yogawellness786.com, for more information about my services. And remember, all my therapies are natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. The famous three qualities spoken of in the Vedantic or yogic scriptures, and they're generally termed by the Sanskrit term sattva guna, rajasic guna, and tamasic guna, right? So the gunas are the qualities, and sattvic referring to the mode of goodness or piety, and considered the highest level. And the second level, called rajasic, or the mode of passion, usually related to action and energetic, and it's needed in certain cases, especially with the administrative class of people who are involved in the armed forces, policing, or management structures, where they need to manage and control large volumes of people, right? And the third quality, tamasic, or um, the mode of ignorance, right? And or it is associated with laziness, oversleeping, debauchery, overindulgence in intoxicants and drugs, and so forth. So I've had the good occasion to come across an amazing YouTube channel um, recently, and that's Buddha at the Gas Pump. And specifically, he's interviewing people on the spiritual path who's made, significant progress, either from being established for a long period in their yogic practices, or healing sciences, and written. Usually, I've found most of them have written, a few books already, and I found some amazing, people that were interviewed, like David Goddard and so forth. But there were also some, questionable, philosophies, as well as some really, I'm trying to find, a polite word to try to say it, but I mean, it was horrendous listening to it. Not that there's anything wrong, with what they were saying. It was just, I'm so grateful that, especially the third category of people that I'm referring to, horrendous from my internal perspective, because I'm used to a very wide and deep understanding, in the science of yoga, not on a very scholarly level, but on a level that was of interest to me. I went through vast volumes of lectures and extracted what I wanted, out of them. So I gained like a basic knowledge of a lot of the basics, of yoga science and meditation, across a wide variety of literatures from different perspectives and different schools of thought. And I was fortunate to have multiple um, masters in the field of yoga science that I had the gift of studying under, not only from the Vedantic traditions, but also from the Christian traditions, from the Buddhist traditions, from the Saivite traditions, and Vaishnavite traditions, Advaita school of thought, and so forth, right? Also, in the field of psychology and the field of science, science was especially of a great interest to me, and religion. So, trying to find a balance between the two. And of course, I'm being Muslim. I've studied, intensely, all as many of the famous schools of thought, right? Both the Sunni and the Shia schools of thought, and within those schools of thought, a few, popular sects as well, right? And found everything to be very fascinating. So when I hear, coming to this statement, to apologize for using the word horrendous, but why I'm saying it that way, because I know what they're talking about, and amazing. I cannot remember the names of this people, and it's not good for me to mention because if there's a negative, comment about them, that I'm making. Although I have the utmost respect for them, they are doing amazing work, and they're reaching out to a lot of people, and their knowledge. They spent a lot of years, decades, in practicing and advancing themselves and putting it into practice and helping a lot of people, right? And this is the main thing. What it's not what you say and how fancy you say it and your knowledge. I mean, what's the end result, right? What's the benefit to society, right? And this is the most important thing. It's just that the way they said it. I mean, the pronunciation was confusing in the beginning. So I learned to keep my mind open when they mention some Sanskrit words. Pronunciation's way off, like cities and their cities. I'm thinking, that cities, like New York City and Houston and London, and do not pine for cities. And I love, traveling. So they said there's some, amazing, respected, saintly person which they were referring to, that I know also, and from the accounts of what they're saying, I also feel is, an elevated person, right? Or, deserving of utmost respect. And he says, don't pine after or long for, cities. And I'm thinking, I love this city and I still want to go to live in this other city, and it's gonna, actually turn around and be of negative impact to me. And I said, oh, in my past, I went to these cities and I loved it so much, and I actually had a lot of negative experiences, but I also had positive experiences, right? So I was thinking maybe this was my mistake. I mustn't long for to go to any city, and I already got my next city in mind. Then I realized, oh my God, they're not referring to cities; they refer to siddhis, magical powers, right? That you get, the, as you're elevating in yoga. Siddhis, not cities. It took me a long time to understand as we're going deeper and deeper into the discussion. Um, so in that sense, so I mean, I don't hold it negative to them. They don't. Uh, it's not their language, but I mean, they learn this, mainly from books, not from people who learned it, under scholars and so forth, and siddhis. So the ones who learned it under proper scholars who studied it in the original language, they fortunately, although coming from Western background, the US and so forth, they pronounce the technical terms perfectly, right? So of course you can't find this. We're getting a lot of knowledge from books, and that is also an amazing way. That's why the books were written by these people, right? To ensure that their message tries to reach out as far and wide as possible. And then when they started to describe, there was one person, doesn't matter man or woman, right? So one person who's got a degree in the yogic sciences field, and busy with the masters, in the yogic science. I didn't know, there was, and this is from a Western country, and it's amazing that they have these departments, for the Eastern sciences established in the Western countries. They need to do something about getting proper lecturers who can explain things with the proper pronunciations. Because students are learning and they are paying, the university is paying the professors, right? So they should pay people who can teach the students with the proper pronunciations, and also to explain things in a clear form, not to let people's mind go wild and go very diversified from the core meanings, because the meanings are very simple and the core is very simple, right? This also is a problem when you're translating from the original language into the English language, and you don't get the proper meaning across, of what's the original intent of the original word is, right? So this leads people to have associations, because the English word has got associations to that particular word, right? Because it has a certain fixed meaning in the English, with a variety of options and variations. And once you start going broader out into other explanations, it like really botches things up. And this is where the second horrendous part, where it like I felt something like go cold inside me, like a cold shiver through me, hair standing on ends, and that from oh my God, what are they're detracting from what's the intention. These things are not very complicated. It's designed for simple people, right? And of course there's some very highly philosophical arguments and so forth. And you have to also understand that it was catered for all levels of people as well. Some people are on higher levels of consciousness, or higher level advanced levels of development in the yogic sciences, where greater and greater aspects of the human brain was being opened up, right? This is the purpose of yoga, to realize the 100% potential of your brain, right? To evolve it. And the yogic science can fast forward the evolution of the brain development, not wait for thousands of years or generations to happen before it happens naturally. You can, experience within like a few decades, right? And my protocol has been to try to, shorten that period to within, a few months, some experience within few days, some experience within few months, and ultimate experiences within few years, right? Not to go like 40, 50 years and not getting any major result, right? So coming back, this person was describing the gunas, or the qualities, right? Because people of three qualities, they are the very good natured people, the very action orientated and very involved in enjoying the pleasures of life, and involved in the armed forces and fighting and aggressively talking, and leadership qualities, right? Nothing negative, right? Leadership qualities. You need someone to be the leader, right? So it's difficult to explain this rajasic guna, this middle one, because it's better to explain it from the original Sanskrit, and it's hard to translate it over to English. I am not a Sanskrit scholar, of course. I never learned Sanskrit, and it's just that I studied these books from childhood, and many of the terms became second nature to me. And studying under various masters later in life, it helped correct my pronunciation, of it, from the various schools of thought. So it's actually mainly referred to in connection with food, because there's a very close association with the types of food you eat and the type of behavior or personality that is associated with it. So if you want to adjust your personality to a higher level, you need to adjust your food. So that's the theory, right? But there's much more to it, because once you start advancing in the advanced levels of yoga and meditation, right? Where you are spiritually awakened. And now, also the obstacles are removed by your teacher, which is what I do, right? For my advanced level students, I spiritually awaken them, remove the obstacles, and give them a protocol that's going to fast forward their development. And the protocol works super fast because spirituality is already awakened, and the pathway, all the blockages are removed, right? For the progress, because the blockages could be, horrendous experiences. You get hundreds of thousands of people, complaining, on the adverse effects of involuntary Kundalini awakenings. But we won't go into that now. Coming back to the gunas and the qualities and the foods associated, when you're advancing, automatically, your body is going to start reverse aging in a sense. Not suddenly, of course, in the extremely ultimate advanced levels, there are people like Ramalinga Swamigal, Vallalar, and various others that are not mentioned much, in or discussed much, because you need scientific proof, right? And if there's no scientific proof, then it's not worth, it's not good to, discuss it. But anecdotally, I'm discussing, right, that there are levels where people, can reverse age, but let's refer it to scientific aspect. So there was a scientist, Tanaka, a Japanese scientist, surname Tanaka. I just cannot pronounce his first name. It's complicated, and I hope I'm even pronouncing the surname correctly. Where he won the Nobel Prize for finding the chemical protocol to reverse age life forms, and his experiments were based on mice, where the whiskers of the, or gray whiskers of the mice turn black again, and even the optical nerve, which is like almost impossible to repair, was repaired, with this protocol. So he found the solution to reverse aging chemically, right? So of course they cannot just experiment with humans, because it may have, adverse effects, and how much to give, and when is the dangerous limit, when is the safe limit. So there's still various scientific, experiments going on to find a safe way to roll out the protocol, for people, to be able to use. And there is reverse. So reverse aging is not a fiction anymore, right? It is scientifically proven and accepted that this is possible. So that chemically is one way, like for example, to reach the highest levels of meditational experience, the enlightenment level, you don't have to follow just the yogic path, right? You can also induce it chemically, right? Through drugs like mushrooms, LSD, DMT. So currently there are experiments going on in certain universities, with the psychedelic drugs, and done under very strict control and safe measures, being implemented, to study it. But these measures is like forcing you into opening a level that you're not ready for, and it usually leads to overwhelm, right? And the person cannot handle, because he's not ready for it, right? But some people, they experience like lower levels of the trips to other frequencies, because there's so many frequencies in which there is life and existence of life form. It's like changing the TV channels, and you change the frequency, suddenly this everything that you see disappears, and you are present in another frequency, suddenly, and you are able to communicate. So whether it is an hallucination or real, we don't know. But when it comes to yoga and you're developing your levels of consciousness, then every level higher frequency that you attain, you are able to connect with that frequency, and everything lower than that is also accessible to you. And you just need qualification to keep going higher and higher. And as that happens physiologically, your body starts changing, as though you're becoming like a newborn baby. You become very sensitive to everything. So certain foods is going to, because we become desensitized to the foods, people don't feel the effect of those foods. Things like onions, garlic, and spicy foods, right? So of course, people generally from Western countries are not used to eating spicy foods. When they eat spicy foods, it's horrendous. You start sweating, and it's a very miserable experience, and upsets your throat passages and your stomach walls, and everything starts burning. As you get heartburn, and it causes so much of pain and misery, but also the psychological influences. So for example, I mentioned like onions and garlic, right? So me, being practicing the advanced levels of yoga and meditation for decades now, I'm very sensitive to spicy foods and so forth, and my stomach really burns. Although I grew up in Indian cultural background, right, till the age of 18. But practicing yoga from the age of 10, I was very sensitive to spicy foods. And I thought I had a condition, ulcers, right? Stomach ulcers. And I had to take medication for that all the time until I left home at the age of 18 and went, fortunately, long distances and stayed in universities, and, having like regular Western culture or, wellness foods, because universities has a catering department, and the catering department normally, the university that I went to, they got scientifically approved cuisine that's balanced and wholesome, and there was no spicy. If you wanted a little pepper, they gave it to you in little sachets. You could sprinkle it, if you wanted to add it. And I generally didn't. I didn't even want to add salt, because food has got natural salt in it, and I got used to a wholesome diet, but a omnivore diet, right? So coming back to the foods, in the advanced levels, this is the important part, right? Because you practicing, let's say you're not even initiated, you can self-initiate by sheer practice, continuous practice over the period. You can become, and maybe you are ready, you are ripe for initiation. And a lot of people involuntarily, the spirituality awakens. When this happens, suddenly your body is going to become sensitive to certain foods. The three quality of food is what you have to be wary of. So you need to have sattvic food, the good. So these include foods mainly from the vegetable, not mainly, only from the vegetable kingdom, right? And no spices, no spices, no pungent spices like chili, and astringent spices, right? And no onions and garlic. A lot of people say, why onions and garlic? So let me give you what happens to me, right, with onions and garlic. I just need to have one slice of a raw onion, right? Raw onion, one slice, one round, nice big slice. I eat that slice. For 8 hours, I am as though I had about five double whiskeys, right? Not falling over drunk, but I'm feeling amazing, good drunk, right? And laughing and joking, and like I had whiskey. Honestly, I'm feeling drunk, and it wears off only after about 8 hours, right? And it's disturbing if I'm gonna want to, be calm and relaxed and focus on my work. I can't focus on my work that time because my mind is overactive, and I can't do that, and I can't forget about meditation. How are you going to meditate like that, right? Then you get garlic. When I eat garlic, because I was in Turkey, and I love spinach, right? Or any herbs, I love that herbs. And I wanted to have some nice cooked. And the turkey has got a delicacy. They call it spanek, right? Meaning spinach. They prepare it in a way, but they prepare it with a lot of garlic, right? And usually on a Friday, right, after my Friday prayer, being Muslim, it's like a big prayer on that Friday lunch. Then I have like a special lunch. It's like a tradition, because I lived long in the Middle East as well, and I adopted those cultural habits. So I love eating the spinach, but just loaded with garlic, right? And I'm normally getting off from work for about 2 hours, right? During that period, to go for prayer and have my lunch and come back. When I come back after eating the spinach full of garlic, I am so drowsy. I'm having coffee, and no matter what I have, the eyes are closing. I need to sleep for about 3 to 4 hours, before it wears off. So it makes you like inclined towards laziness and sleeping, and you cannot wake up. Now in the advanced levels you naturally wake up early hours of the morning naturally, right? But when you're consuming foods with too much of garlic and and so forth, then it's very difficult to wake up for sadhana. And that's important because you got a normal life. Where's the time to meditate? And you need to meditate in the early hours, right? On a very advanced, naturally you'll wake up. So this prevents that and makes you, it affects you like a massive sedative. It's I cannot even, and other people eat it and they are fine, they don't feel anything, right? I'm feeling like I had an overdose of sleeping tablets. Not only having sleep, I had an overdose of it. And I cannot do anything. I'm like 90% finished, gone, you know and that's the second thing. And spicy foods, even little spice, I am totally wet. I even, it's cold weather, it's sub-zero temperatures, I have to take out my hat because my head is wet, and I have to wipe it because I'm clean shaven, right? Face, head, and so forth. And it's sweat dripping down. It's an unpleasant experience. Not only with chili, I also notice if I have cheese as well. Like pizza has got a lot of cheese. When I have cheese, I am sweating, right? I've got no idea because there's no pungency in that and what's the reason for it. So usually I'm mainly on a whole foods plant-based diet, and I usually, avoid dairy, but I don't, ban myself completely from it, especially if I'm traveling. You can't be that fussy, and and I'm traveling a lot, right? Having traveled over 100 countries. So coming back, we eating like the type of foods I'm eating mainly, 80% of it is raw cruciferous vegetables that I put in a blender. I blend the spinach or cabbage or cauliflower or broccoli, or chard or kale. These are all, I mean, kale and spinach are not the cruciferous family, but a close cousin, to the cruciferous family, and also amazing, benefits. All the herbs have got amazing medicinal properties in it, right? And is highly recommended to have. So in most countries, very hard to find a variety of herbs depending on the city you are in. And in Dubai, I was like in the supermarket, I could get like over 20, 30 different varieties of herbs. And I used to have a different herb every day, put it in my blender together with, a bunch of spinach. So spinach I used to have every day, and one bunch of any herb. And I put a handful of flax seeds. I got this protocol from Dr. Brooke Golna, right? I give credit to her, and this is not my own invention. And she's got amazing, illness reversal, where so many illnesses were deemed, incurable, and she's cured because she even cured her own lupus, which is, considered incurable, right? And she reversed it completely, and she's was expected to die by the age of 25 medically, and according to medical predictions, she's now, in her 40s, and it was impossible. They said impossible that she's gonna be able to have a child. She's had two children, and so forth. So this protocol, and I found it absolutely amazing. What's the most amazing thing, practically for everyone, majority of people, is it's the fastest, easiest, guaranteed way of losing weight, right? The love handles in the side. You can go to pushing the heaviest weight, spending 2 hours a day in the gym, 6 days a week, even seven, eight. This thing is just not going, right. The certain, visceral fat is very hard to burn, but it like automatically just melts and goes away, with that protocol. And from a yogic sciences point of view, amazing energy. You feel so flexible in yoga, and you could even go into the very advanced postures, and everything is so amazing. And your breath work, the kundalini practice is so strong, right, and rich. And your meditation is so easy, right. It's really super, the superfood. It's, I would say, it's a sattvic ideal protocol food, right. And also, I mean, I have one meal, cooked foods, from the vegetable kingdom, and I have some grains as well, so I have wholesome foods. I avoid, processed foods, highly processed foods, and refined carbohydrates like breads and so forth, right? Because the flour is highly refined and it's made from flour. Unless, of course, you're going to make your own flour, grind your own flour, right? Which is almost impossible in this day and age unless you're in certain locations. And in Turkey, they've got these natural breads, ekmek, they call them. Oh, it tastes so amazing. So I don't know whether it's hand ground flour because they're very into natural foods in Turkey. So those breads were absolutely amazing in taste, right? But whether it's healthy or not, I don't know. But one thing I can give credit to Turkey, right, is their bread, and it's a nice, amazing foot-long size as well. So you have one of that, with whatever you having eating, it's going to be reasonably filling, especially if you have a voracious appetite, which comes with the yogic sciences, right? Practicing of yoga. So the foods in the mode of goodness, this is sattvic foods, is going to be encouraging for the qualities, in terms of the prana that you need, the energy and the calmness, not disturbing you, not making you overly, aggressive or passionate, or lack of control of your emotions, referring to lack of control over continence. So there are certain high levels of yogic sciences that you have to observe continence, or a restriction, like celibacy, right? Complete celibacy for a period of time, not for the rest of your life, for a short period of time, to allow the development, or of the part of your brain. There's two parts of the brain that requires development: the pineal gland, as well as there is the seventh chakra, which is slightly located slightly above the crown of the head. That also needs to be activated, right? And it needs a lot of power. Even loss of one drop of your seminal fluid, both male and female, it's like a massive slowdown in the development process. So once it's developed, right, when you're at that pinnacle, you don't have to observe it. But from my experience, I'm practicing both continents and not continents, and living a very healthy, regular, normal life, right? um, uh, Amazing normal life. I didn't need to practice continence very long, but I reached very high levels, and currently, I can feel the onset, of the superconscious state, right? Where the part above the forehead is I permanently see its amazing bright lights and amazing colors, and so permanently 24/7 it's there, right? Initially, when the pineal gland activated, it was like a white light that was permanently in this area that I can see in my mind's eye. And I'm a blind person now, right? Last week, and you still see that, right? Because you're seeing with your inner eye, a white. And when the seventh chakra activates, the whole area, the crown of the head area, this whole thing lights up very bright. Sometimes it becomes so bright, right? And eventually you become fixed in it. And like how, if you, I will refer you to Gopi Krishna's works, where he describes that state, right? Where everything he sees, everything as living. Even the building has got energy and consciousness in it. It's like even the ocean. It's like it's got consciousness in it. The ground is not like a dead ground. It's alive, right? It's feeling and the consciousness is, expands in the radius where our consciousness is to the end of our skin, right? So whatever touches our skin, we feel it, but it radiates to everything in the environment immediately around that radius, depending how highly developed. And the more and more it develops, the radius increases, where it even can go up to several kilometers. And also, of course, certain stages of meditation in the nirvikalpi sabikalpi nirvikalpi samadhi state, you lose your sense of yourself, because you are become one with everything. You feel the consciousness of everything, that you are everything, right? But you are not everything. You are this so close connection with the universal energy, that you feel that you are that, like, you feel you one with that. Like when you become so immersed in that musical piece, you feel you one with that piece of music, and you float and you get lost in that music. You lose who you are, or you get so involved in that game that you're playing, right? Call of Duty and so forth, right? And you feel that you are in that game, really. You feel that you are there. You forgot this world, right? So even in Nirbika, that is, you don't, you're not the universe. You are not God. You're not, please, there's a lot of people mistaken that we are, we are God. We are not God. How can you be everything? If you are God, you forgot. What kind of God are you, right? That you forgot, and that is not a or what type of higher power, higher energy, right? Causal energy, that it forgot and became individual and so. There are some, uh, this is a because you can come back to normal consciousness. Then when you come back to normal consciousness, you adopt your same personality again, right? So of course you become a little bit. Some people become very crazy, and they refer to themselves as the third person, right? Like we, because they, you get the LGBTQ and who you identify, what you identify as. I identify as they, them, we, or I and me, right? So it becomes like that, right? So I've got no offense to those who identify that way. Everyone has got the freedom to identify how he feels, right? And some people actually identify as human, and some people identify as donkey, and some people identify as, the universal energy. Some people identify that they are one with God, and there's no difference between them and God and so forth. Good luck to them, right? With these identities. So coming back, I get lost with all these, this intense, discussions that I have, and I divert from what I'm trying to, from my point. Let's come quickly, like with Gopi Krishna's level. So this upper part, starts becoming, activated. So the energy is, going in, empowering it, and so the sattvic food is very conducive to that. And when you have rajasic food like onions and spices and meat based food, it's very hard for you to control your sexual urges, right? Or to maintain celibacy. So it troubles you a lot. But, from, I'm talking from experience, right? I had long periods of very sattvic foods, and I couldn't control, right? I said, how are these? It's not natural. Of course, people like Gopi Krishna who observed, continence for long periods as well. And he says he really restricted himself. His urges were very strong, but he forcefully, with a strong mind, iron will, this thing, because it can be fatal according to his. And when I heard that word, I said, what did he mean fatal? Maybe fatal to your progress, then I realized later he meant that it will kill you. You will die. So I don't attest to that viewpoint. I'm not on his level to, comment on what he said, but from the knowledge and my personal experience, I'm not on his level at all, right? And I'm progressing to advanced levels, right? Following, a combination of protocols that fast forwards my progress, right? And without celibacy, right? And some things he mentioned, is this thing, but still it extracts of your energy. So coming back to the association of the food, not to detract too far. So having rajasic foods like meat based foods, chilies, onions, and so forth, is gonna not garlic, right, is of the rajasic quality, and gonna incite your passions, that is gonna make it more uncontrollable, right? So I would agree with that. It increases your passion, right? It increases your level of, especially if you're practicing advanced level yoga meditation. It affects you differently, because by default you're going to be that much healthier, because the pranic energy is on a higher level in you, and body repair functions is higher, and especially your seminal fluids are increased much higher. your appetite, for sexual urges and so forth becomes, magnified, right? So it becomes like abnormal, right? I mean, when I was in on campus, right, in university, I needed to have three girlfriends on campus. Of course, they didn't know, and I choose very reserved, a woman that not very sociable and so forth, so that they won't find out. But I used to visit all three the same night, right? And people couldn't believe, right? And they thought something. Even I was thinking something is wrong with me, right? But naturally, I'm feeling that. What's wrong with it? I'm just like an animal, right? When it comes to my passions, right? And this is because eating normal foods, right? It magnified it that much more. Already, it's magnified, right? With yoga, you magnify it, and it becomes beyond control. The control element becomes so much stronger. But in yoga, there's ways, in yogic ways, to control it, to sublimate it, right? And how you can manually sublimate it, right? So I've learned that after, I think, almost 50 years of practice only, how to manually, in that time, how to control that specifically, the nuances of controlling, and and so forth. So these three gunas, or the three, is referring to the foods that you should be wary of when you are going into advanced levels of yoga and meditation, because you have to be careful. You don't want to, because socially you're going to become a man whore or a whore, right? You're going to be by society. They're going to call you this name, a whore or a man whore. They're not understanding what you are going through, that it's a insatiable. You need to, quench that thirst, right? It overpowers you, become thirsty like a camel, but for passion, right? In the sense of passion. And, anything on two legs, you're going to grab it, right? And then, you're going to, also, it's going to be dangerous for you from a health perspective, right? Not only socially, right? It can be fatal when you contract AIDS, right? I'm fortunate, that I never had any STDs and so forth. And I'm thinking now in the advanced level, maybe because I'm an energy healer, I self healed, at the early stages, of the STDs, and it never, had a chance to manifest completely in me. That's I've, the more likely and logical, explanation than to say that I was lucky never to, because the level of promiscuity that I had had was, really out of this world. So it's impossible. I made it impossible that I'm not going to get it. But I didn't. I didn't have any symptoms of it, all my life, and I hardly get sick and so forth, right? So coming back to the three gunas, right, the three qualities, is not referring more to the qualities of people, but more for someone on the advanced. Regular people not interested in what is gunas, right? And what is sattvic and rajasic and tamasic, right? Tamasic is in the mode of laziness. You can't wake up. It's specifically for people to know that these foods avoid, because it's going to bring about this result. You can't get up naturally in the morning, which you now, like other people, they cannot wake up, easily. When they're in deep sleep, they cannot wake up, right? But me, naturally, I'll wake up in the middle of the night, or for prayer, or 3 a.m. For meditation time. I'm up, naturally, wide awake. No need to put cold water on my face and dip myself into a cold plunge or anything, right? Or a cold shower, to awake. I'm wide awake and, ready during that time. And then once that time is past, I go back, and rest and sleep, if I want to. And it's referring to that, referring to the quality, the three gunas, this thing. Got nothing about philosophical and this, and for normal, not designed for normal life, right? Of course, for normal life, where you're gonna understand that this is, inciting passions, and you want to curb it down, and maybe it's becoming a problem in your life. To have that understanding, if you're into this type of, into spirituality and so forth. I mean, if you're listening to this video, for sure you are into spirituality, and at this level, of this particular video, 100%, you are, even if you're not, and you're not spiritual, you don't know whether you're spiritually awake or not. Guaranteed you are spiritually awake. Guaranteed the kundalini is awakened in you. Kundalini is life force energy. It doesn't have to be something so fantastic and surging through you. Yes, it's got the power. It's an amazing power, right? It can blow your body to smithereens, the level of power that it, if it fully exhibits, the full energy of it, but it's 100% awakening, if you're listening to me at this stage, right? It just, you need guidance how to develop it safely and how not to have the adverse effects, of the Kundalini awakens that majority of people are experiencing. Right now, it's majority where there's involuntary, Kundalini awakens, and also the foods is going to help to regulate your life, the problem parts of your life. So we wouldn't say go into and be strictly sattvic food. You can eat your cuisine, but you see certain things, laziness overcoming you, start cutting out like your garlic and preserved foods and processed foods. These are tamasic. There's no prana in it, right? They're called tamasic. You're going to eat it. It just there's going to it's going to make you feel very sleepy, lazy, sedentary. That's why, because 80% eating fast foods, processed foods, highly processed foods, there's no pranic energy in it, right? Or no chi in it, no life force energy in it. Yeah, I have more natural where it's still natural. People can't have freshly cooked meat, right? You slaughtered it in your backyard, and of course, that slaughtering process also, how hygienic it's going to be and so forth, is questionable as well, right? And but fresh, vegetables and so forth, that's grown. And today I had a good occasion, to have an amazing kind of herb. I don't know the English name for it, but it's a bitter type of herb, but amazing. I love that taste, and I ate it, and it felt so amazing because it wasn't, bought from a supermarket or a store where they're mass growing it, and that there's no nutrient in the soil. It's grown in my own garden where it's only for me, and amazing taste, right? It tastes very different, and the spinach that grown in your own garden, tastes so amazing because the pranic energy is there. The life force energy is fuller, and it's more nutrient dense, right? So this is something, and people think, how are you going to have the green smoothies of Dr. Brooke Goldner? So once you get used to it, it becomes amazing taste. Now when I'm having my, blended broccoli, with a handful, raw broccoli with a handful of flax seeds, and I usually add an orange and one lemon because I love that lemon orange taste, right? One lemon, one orange, for flavor. That taste with the peel. I put it with because 50% of the vitamin C is in the peel also, right? And once it's blended, you're not tasting the peel or anything, but it tastes absolutely amazing and delicious. You feel the energy, in the food, and it's like sparkling in your tongue. And it's so amazing, and even like hydrating, with water. So I cut out for a long period of time anything except water, right? So I cut out tea, coffee, soft drinks, everything, because I was addicted to coffee. I used to have 16 coffees a day, right? And four double Red Bulls, right? You get the normal Red Bull plus double size because overworking, I'm also an entrepreneur, and running multiple businesses, and it's not easy, right? You have to push in sometimes 24 hours no sleep, right? Sleeping 2 to 3 hours for 6 months in a row, pushing, which is totally unhealthy. Don't do that, and it is not worth it, but when you are running a company and there's the money and your customers are, depending on it, nothing is more important than your life, which I really realized, now. But it's still, I'm not 100% following it, right? So but you need, so I when I started to drink water mainly, and I got used to water, right? And not going to that, buying bottles and bottles of water, which is good, I mean, but the bottles of water coming in plastic, right? And rather to buy in glass, right? Because plastic is not healthy, right? So just plain old tap water, because I'm drinking like 1 to 2 gallons a day, right? For health purposes. So like about, a minimum about 4.5 to 5 liters a day, right? So I try to reduce it to come to normal levels like 3 liters a day, you know, and keep that, my consistent, and maybe a little bit more than that, so but it tastes so amazing. I advise my friends, hydrate, drink more. They say, they don't like the taste of water, doesn't taste good. And it was like similar to me, when I was drinking normal stuffs too much, and then I got used to it. Now I okay, occasionally I drink, like, other soft drinks and so forth, and pure juices, and also the processed juices as well, very occasionally. I cannot remember when last I drank. No, I lie. I think in the last 6 months I had one glass of processed juice, but I had 100% juice normally, right? Drinking all these things because I want to put good nutrition in my body, right? This is the three gunas, the three qualities referring to this, and it doubles your progress in your striving towards developing your spirituality and activating the higher centers in your brains, like the pineal gland and the Sahasrara chakra, right? So your third eye region and the crown, your crown chakra is your connection to the cosmic energy. So everyone's connected. You can't be alive if you're not connected, right? To the universal energy. But increasing that connection. So you're becoming more and more connected to everything and everyone around you. I even feel as though, I love buying old cars and fixing it up and bringing it back to its original condition, right? I like everything to be original. I love, like, watches, to see old watches being restored to its original glory. I love, buying, like, totally neglected houses and using my own hands to paint the walls. And I did that, in many homes, and I feel like a love for the property, like it's a person. My ex-wife used to always say, why you refer to your car as though, and you have so much of feeling for your car as though it's a person. And I mean, all men, love their cars, right? As a person, and it's not a person, it's just a car. I feel like someone took a knife and pushed it in my heart when they said that it's just a car, right? And it's just a room, or it's just a house, or, like everything, my clothes, my toys from childhood, right? I took so great care. The one thing abnormal or not normal, and remarkable about me from my childhood, like 2 years old, 1 year old, and so forth, I never broke a single toy. Right? And then I had a younger brother that came after that, and he broke every toy across the board, and he wanted to see how it works, right? He wants to fix it. And he, of course, was naturally very intelligent because he likes to take things apart, right? And I, took care of things and so forth, and very sensitive to everything. So coming back to the gunas and the qualities, you become sensitized with the connection, with the universal energy. You feel empathy for everything, not only people, for animals, and for trees, and for the earth, for the soil. Don't deplete the soil. You feel it in your heart. Because it's for the longevity of mankind. If you deplete the soil, there's no nutrients left in the soil. Where's the food going to come from? It's going to make the human race extinct. Eventually, wipe out the planet, right? So there are people who's more connected to the universal energy, that are interested in these nuanced activities, and even to be interested in the yogic sciences and spirituality. Your connection with the universal energy is much higher than regular people, and by controlling your food, into the sattvic type of foods, which is rich in pranic energy. This is whole foods, plant based. Specifically, I mean, you want to make sure you get nutrient dense food. Follow the Brooke Goldner protocol, right? I've got no affiliates to her. I never met her person, never spoke to her even once. One day when I made a comment, in one of her YouTube channels, she put a heart, and I felt so amazing that she actually recognized it. And I've been watching for years, her videos. I think probably about 7 8 years now, and trying to follow, and emulate, incorporating that into my diet, and having such amazing results from a yogic point of view. And where it's fast forwarding. So I'm telling you, I'm living a normal life, right? I got 6 divorces under the belt, right? Unfortunately. And so a lot of people says, obviously, it's not the people, it's me, right? I'm the fault. But this is one of the things, as you're advancing rapidly in the yogic sciences, your world and the people around you has to change because you outgrow them, right? So yes, it's not my fault. It's also my development is faster than normal. So it's something that you have to accept beforehand before you start fast forwarding. And I always warn my students who wants to go into the advanced yoga and meditation, this is what's going to happen. Your career going to change, your country going to change, your city is going to change, the people around you, your wife's going to change, your partner's going to change, you know, and your perspective is going to change, your religion will probably change, and you'll go from a religion to non-religion to believing only in science or and so forth, and that's what's actually happening, right? Happened to me, right? I went through various stages and so forth. So coming back to the three gunas or the qualities, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, I felt very passionate to discuss and make this video after watching, Buddha in the gas pump, YouTube channel, and this person spoke, and it felt horrendous to me, to hear the interpretation and the perspective of it. It's not that it's related, to the advanced levels of yogic sciences, as I explained. And I can't say like I've got expert knowledge, but impossible to have expert because the knowledge is infinite, right? And even if we have a billion giga, right, or terabytes, billion terabytes of knowledge, right, in our brain, which is unfathomable now, how much of knowledge that is. Compared to infinity, it's not even a speck, right? What is infinity? You look in the broad perspective. So of course I see that, I'm still every day I'm still learning, not only learning, I'm learning so much. I'm so advanced. I spent so much years, and I'm so awestruck that I keep learning, and I feel I know nothing. Right? But I'm just sharing what I've learned so far to make it easier. And I believe, especially people who are, healers and yoga teachers, because once you long in it and you're passionate and you're listening to videos like mine, so it's good for you to be involved in giving, of yourself, and naturally you are giving, so your knowledge can be expanded, and get a perspective. And mine is not the only perspective. There are thousands of different perspectives that are also on point, right? I mean, I learn so much from listening to other masters, and fortunate to even some people who I believe who don't have knowledge, but they say some things that are so poignant, and I learn from that. And sometimes even I was listening to this some people, that I'm saying, horrendous, but I would say 80% of what they say I learn from it. Right? It's only that one small percentage of one or two things that they mention that strikes me, and it's just I hats off to them. They don't know the theory, but they know the practical from their own heart and the experience. But they couldn't put it in a theory format from this book and that's the theory. Because they know naturally, right? Because like for example, the one commented, all people say the seven chakra is the highest, but I believe strongly the heart is the highest chakra, which is, I would say, 10,000% yes. You got it. And people who's developed on the high level, eventually you only need to follow your heart and it's going to guide you, the correct way. And the people who is still ignorant need to develop, you can be deluded, right? And influenced to doing a lot of wrong things, right? So it depends. But, always follow your heart. Deep down there's something there. When something feels, let's say I got a hunch, right? I got a hunch. I just had a hunch to do this, and eureka, you feel you win, right? And it was a good hunch, right? Sometimes the hunches don't pay off, but generally it's worth following it, right? It's like the same as following the hunt. So hope that wide discussion on the three qualities, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, starts to resonate. It's a very wide topic because when you discussing things on spirituality, the knowledge is infinite, right? It's impossible to end that discussion, and just touching on different aspects to make you aware of how vast it really is and how deep it really is. We don't know how deep it goes, right? or how vast it really is, right? So hope that information helps you, and take care always.